Something significant just happened in the world of college football, and if you have been following the ongoing drama surrounding Colorado's transfer portal situation, you already know this moment did not come out of nowhere. Shedeur Sanders made a very deliberate, very public decision to call out Jordan Seaton directly, and the reason he did it tells you everything you need to know about what is happening inside the Colorado program right now. This is not gossip. This is not petty social media noise. This is a developing story about character, accountability, and what happens when players choose to rewrite history on their way out the door. Let us get into exactly what went down, why it matters, and what it reveals about the future of Coach Prime's program. Before we even get to Jordan Seaton specifically, we need to establish the broader pattern that has been building throughout the 2024 college football season and into the off-season. Multiple players have exited the Colorado program through the transfer portal, and a significant number of them have not left quietly. They have gone directly into press conferences, interviews, and social media spaces and made pointed comments about Coach Prime, the program's facilities, the quality of coaching, and the overall environment at Colorado. This is not one disgruntled player venting in private, this is a repeated, public behavior that has become a recognizable trend. Players transfer to programs like Clemson and Tennessee and then use their introductory platforms to draw unfavorable comparisons back to the program they just left. London Merritt, for example, made comments suggesting that Clemson's facilities and coaching infrastructure were superior to what he experienced at Colorado. A quarterback who transferred to Tennessee made subtle but unmistakable digs in media appearances. The criticism has come in waves, and for a long time, the Colorado program absorbed it without responding publicly. That period of silence ended when Jordan Seaton sat down and made his specific claims. Jordan Seaton is an offensive lineman who was part of the Colorado program before entering the transfer portal and committing to Clemson. In interviews following his transfer, Seaton implied that Colorado's facilities were not at an elite level, that the strength and conditioning program was not where it needed to be, and that his physical development had not been properly supported during his time with the Buffaloes. He positioned himself as a player who needed a higher level of infrastructure and investment to reach his potential, and the clear implication was that Colorado could not provide that. Here is where the facts become impossible to ignore. Jordan Seaton arrived at the University of Colorado weighing approximately 330 pounds. Through the work done by Colorado's strength and conditioning staff during his time with the program, he was transformed into a 305-pound lineman, leaner, more powerful, and significantly more NFL-ready in terms of his physical profile. That transformation did not happen in a vacuum. It happened inside Colorado's facilities, under Colorado's coaching staff, using Colorado's resources. There is documented photo and video evidence of this physical transformation that is publicly available and completely verifiable. So when Seaton sat in front of cameras at Clemson and suggested the development infrastructure at Colorado was lacking, he was directly contradicting a physical reality that his own body represents. You cannot credit your new program for a foundation that your old program built. That is not an opinion, that is a factual contradiction. Shedeur Sanders has spent his college career being one of the most composed, professional, and drama-free figures in the sport. He does not engage in social media arguments. He does not take shots at other programs or players. His track record is one of letting his performance on the field be the loudest statement he makes. Which is precisely why it registered so clearly when he chose to break from that pattern and address Jordan Seaton directly and publicly. Shedeur did not make an emotional rant. He did not go after Seaton personally or make it about anything other than the verifiable facts. He referenced the physical transformation, pointed to the documented evidence, acknowledged the investment that Colorado's coaching staff had made in Seaton's development, and made clear that the narrative Seaton was pushing simply did not align with reality. The core of Shedeur's message was direct: the program gave Seaton everything he needed to develop, and pretending that did not happen is dishonest. What made the call-out resonate so widely was not just that it was factually grounded, it was that Shedeur framed it around something deeper than statistics. He spoke to loyalty and to the reality that the people who invested time and resources into Seaton's growth deserved acknowledgement, not erasure. When a player who is known for his professionalism and measured public behavior decides that something is worth addressing, people pay attention. And the internet paid attention. While Shedeur was handling the public-facing response, Coach Prime was delivering a message directly to his current roster that deserves equal attention. Prime told his players clearly and without ambiguity, do not talk about your former schools, your former coaches, or your former programs. He used a pointed analogy to make the point land. Talking about where you used to be when you are somewhere new is like talking about your ex when you are in a better situation. It is unnecessary, it reflects poorly on you, and it signals that you have not fully committed to where you are going. That message is not just about optics or managing public perception. It is about the mentality that Coach Prime has always tried to build into the players who come through his program, the idea that real competitors are focused on what is ahead of them, not on settling scores with what is behind them. The timing of Prime's message to his team, arriving simultaneously with Shedeur's public call-out of Seaton, created a coordinated statement about what Colorado's culture is and what it is not. Current players were being shown, in real time, the right way to handle a difficult situation. Former players were providing the contrast. And the audience watching from the outside could see the difference clearly. There is a straightforward explanation for why many of these transfers are happening, and it has very little to do with facilities or coaching quality. Name, image, and likeness compensation has fundamentally restructured how players make decisions about where they play college football. Programs like Clemson and Tennessee have larger, more established nil collectives with deeper financial resources. They have longer track records of sending players to the NFL, which increases a player's projected market value. When a player receives a significantly larger financial offer from another program, choosing to accept that offer is a rational business decision. Nobody in a fair analysis is arguing that players should not prioritize their financial futures. The NIL era has changed the rules of college football, and players are playing by those rules. The problem is not the transfer. The problem is the dishonest narrative that follows. If Jordan Seaton transferred to Clemson because he received a better financial package, that is an honest and defensible reason. But that is not what he said in front of cameras. Instead, he suggested that Colorado's development infrastructure was the issue, a claim that is directly contradicted by his own physical transformation during his time with the Buffaloes. Clemson and Tennessee do have advantages over Colorado right now in terms of established resources and historical depth of NFL pipeline. That is a factual reality. But having more resources does not make the competing narrative true. Colorado is a program in active development, and Coach Prime has never pretended otherwise. What is not acceptable is using that developmental gap as cover for a misleading story. After a difficult 2024 season, Coach Prime made significant structural changes to the program that demonstrate exactly how real leadership responds to adversity. The coaching staff underwent a complete overhaul. New coordinators were brought in on both sides of the ball. The program actively recruited coaches with NFL-level experience and credentials. Warren Sapp and others who had been part of the previous structure moved on. Here is the notable irony in all of this: the players who transferred and cited coaching as a central concern in their decisions were making those comments about a coaching staff that Coach Prime had already identified as needing change and already begun replacing. The very problem they described publicly was a problem the program had already diagnosed and was actively correcting before their criticisms became public. That is not a coincidence, it is what a program run by a decisive, self-aware head coach actually looks like. Colorado continued to attract elite recruiting talent through all of this. Top-tier players are still choosing to commit to the Buffaloes under Coach Prime's leadership. Programs that are genuinely collapsing do not maintain that level of recruiting success. The transfer drama has, if anything, intensified the us against the world mentality that Prime has always used as a motivational force, and that mentality has historically produced results. Shedeur Sanders is not just a quarterback at the University of Colorado. He is the defining figure of this program's identity in its current era. Every public decision he makes, every time he chooses to speak or to stay silent, every way he handles the pressure and scrutiny that comes with being Coach Prime's son and the face of a program under a national microscope, all of it contributes to the legacy he is building. His decision to publicly defend Colorado and challenge Jordan Seaton's false narrative was not impulsive. It was deliberate. It reflected an understanding that leadership sometimes requires standing up in uncomfortable moments rather than waiting for the storm to pass. For current players and incoming recruits watching this situation unfold, the message is clear: this is a program where leadership means something, where the culture is worth defending, and where the people who built something together are expected to protect what they built. When Shedeur eventually makes the transition to the NFL, and based on his performance and profile, that transition is a matter of when, not if, he will leave Colorado as a player who stood for something beyond personal statistics. He will leave as someone who demonstrated that character and performance can coexist at the highest level. That reputation will follow him into every professional locker room he enters. NFL front offices and scouts evaluate far more than on-field performance when they are building their rosters. Behavioral patterns, public conduct, how a player exits a difficult situation, and whether a player demonstrates loyalty and professionalism are all part of the evaluation process. Putting bitterness and grievances on public display, especially when those grievances are factually questionable, is the kind of character signal that gets noted in scouting reports. Jordan Seaton's willingness to make misleading public statements about a program that demonstrably invested in his development is a data point that evaluators at the next level will factor into their assessments. Shedeur Sanders responding with documented facts, calm delivery, and a clear defense of the program that built him? That only strengthens the profile he has already been building as a leader. In a college football landscape that increasingly functions as a professional business environment, reputation is not just a soft concept, it is a career asset. Players who exit difficult situations with class and honesty build careers that are sustainable. Players who choose to rewrite history for short-term attention often find that those choices follow them further than they intended. The players who transferred from Colorado and chose to speak negatively about the program on their way out have, through their own behavior, answered the most important question: what kind of person are they when things get difficult and they have nothing left to lose by being honest? Shedeur Sanders and Coach Prime have answered the same question from the other side. They defended the truth without making it dramatic. They addressed the dishonesty without losing composure. They sent a clear signal to everyone watching: recruits, current players, NFL evaluators, and the broader college football world, about what the Colorado program stands for and how it conducts itself under pressure. The next several seasons at Colorado will serve as the most direct response to everything being said in press rooms and on social media right now. Prime and Shedeur are not wasting energy on the noise. They are building the answer. If this breakdown gave you the full picture on what is actually happening at Colorado beyond the surface-level headlines, hit that like button right now. It helps this content reach more people who want real analysis instead of hot takes. And if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, click subscribe and turn on notifications, because the Shedeur Sanders story and the Colorado rebuild are far from finished, and you do not want to be the last one to see what comes next.